Hello out there, this is Jerry Brewer of East Bay Hitting Instruction. Today we're going to be looking at Buster Posey's stride. So on this pitch, Buster Posey hits an 87-mile-an-hour ball over a center field fence for a home run. So we're going to look at Posey's stride and we're going to break it into 3 segments. The first segment is gaining control of the body with the backside. Second segment is moving the body to toe touch. And the third segment is the transition into bat swing. So what we're going to do here is just play this sequence, what I'm talking about here, in slow motion. We're just going to watch it a couple times just to get a feel for the movements as a whole, what he's doing. Drawing the body, gathering his body, coming together, moving out, toe touch, and into heel plant. So one more time. Okay. So we're going to look at the first segment where Buster gains control of the body on the backside. This is a really important move. All hitters perform this move to a varying degree of magnitude, but all hitters gain control of the body on the backside. And we're going to watch how he does this. So I've drawn a couple lines here. One is through the back foot. And this is the brick wall where we're going to try to avoid at all costs. And one's just through the center line of his jersey. It's on the his right side of the 2 lines going down the buttons. So he's very neutral right here. The bat's just resting on his shoulder, just very neutral position. And we're going to play this slowly and see what he does. So he's starting to draw his weight back on his back side. And we're going to pause it right there in the end. We're going to go through it again, but I just want to point out a few things. One is that there's an angle between his right knee and his right hip. He does not hit the line on his hip. That is key. If there's a bad move in there, it's hitting this brick wall with the hip. If we get the weight over that knee, it's death. It's over. There's no recovering from that. The second thing we can really notice is that the line on his jersey, instead of being straight down the middle, it's at an angle now. It's because he's set into his hip. If you work with me, I'm going to say this 1,000 times. Sit your weight into this hip. Cock your hip. It's not just a shift backwards, because if you shifted his whole body backwards, that line would be straight. He's setting into this hip, and you can see this by the green line on our right. His front hip is set in as well because he's sitting into that back hip. It's cocking his hips. And if you notice, he didn't do anything with the bat. He just simply set into his hips, his rear hip. That's all he did. So we're going to go through this again slowly and watch how he does this. He's going to start by pulling his right hip in, and that brings the left leg with it. The left leg is not pushing at all. It is being pulled. He's setting into the hip, and we're going to pause it right here. So I've kind of lost there. Let's redo this. So he's gathering his weight, setting into that hip. Right here, he's halfway through that movement, and you can really see the creases starting to add in those pants on the rear side. He's really trying to fold that belt buckle onto that thigh, really folding his body. And this left leg is reactive. It's not pushing. It's not doing anything. It's being controlled by the rear leg. And you can start to see the line on the jersey. It's starting to tilt back a little bit. So we're going to finish this out and into this position. And there we go. Now, do you have to do a high leg kick to get in this position? Absolutely not. You can just imagine extending that front leg down to the ground in a medium stance. That's all you have to do. You don't have to kick the leg up. As a matter of fact, you don't kick the leg up. The rear leg pulls on the front leg. It lifts it. But this is the position we want to be. Drill this position. Get into this position. I don't care how you start, wide, narrow, toe tap, excuse me. I don't care. Just get in this position. Learn to sit into this hip and get this diagonal line going across your body. So from here, we can draw these lines. I drew them on the outside of the rear leg now, going up through the calf and down the hip bone. And the same thing, we can draw a center line from his crotch up to the back of his neck. And he's centered here. This is a good position. And what we're going to see here is how he moves away. Remember, he's set into the rear hip. And he's going to move his body out and carry his front leg into toe touch. And this is the position we want to be in. This is the stride. We have our hands back by the brick wall line. We're still centered. That line through his crotch to the neck is perfect. The left leg is cocked inward, and now you can see that the jersey line is tilted back the other way. We stretch one way, we stretch the other way. And you can see one thing on the shoulder is a really good cue. We don't want to get that shoulder turned too far internally rotated. It's pretty much in line with the hip, just a little bit of separation. So we're going to go through this again and look at some key points. But this is the goal, this position right here. So I'm going to pause it right here, and this is a really key movement. You notice the green lines. The one on the calf is not moved at all. The one on the hip line has. He's moving with his hips first. He's carrying his body. This is super important. Don't just press with the foot. Don't just stick out the front foot. Don't reach. Move the body. Move the hips. The hips carry our body. They're attached to our spine. If we move our hips first, it's going to carry our body. And the only way we can move our hips first if we set into that hip, if we gain control of the body with that rear hip. And notice his hands. His hands aren't doing much. His hands are waiting. And the same thing, you don't have to do a high leg kick. You can just imagine putting this leg down and you'd be in the exact same position. We're going to finish this stride and watch his hands and his foot move. Perfect. Watch the connection between the front hip and the front foot. It's being carried. It's being carried. Have patience with that front foot. Let the body carry it. Don't rush to get it down. You know, just as a drill, just right now, stand up and pick your front foot up. Now stick it out in front of you. What happens to your body? You tilt. You tilt back. Buster's not doing this. Tilting back is death. You know, if hitting the brick wall in the first segment is death, tilting your body back in the second segment is death. There's no recovery. So this is the position we want to be. It's perfect. It's textbook. Buster does it as well as anyone. Just one more time, we're going to go through this just to see all the movements in a nice, smooth fashion. Moving away from the green line, hands coming back with the elbow. Look at this position at the rear elbow. You basically can't see the rear forearm. It's perfect. The rear elbow is pointing directly behind him. The forearm is cocked. Perfect position. Okay, so now we're going to move into the transition segment of the stride. And this is the fun part. This is where we get to unleash all the power we've developed. So we can look at, I've drawn some circles here where the hands, the front shoulder, and the two knees. And then we see the angle between the forearm and the bicep. So here he is in the toe touch position. And we're going to launch into bat launch. So we'll play it and we'll go over some key points. So there he is in the heel plant position. And there are a couple things. One thing, both knees have moved, excuse me. The right knee is dropping down, the left knee is firing around the hip. It's a really key movement. It's moving back and around, trying to hit the dugout with that back hip. And now we've really stretched the body. Our hips are opening up a bunch. You can see where his crotch is pointing. It's towards first base, but his shoulders haven't moved much. And we get this humongous stretch you can see by the line on his jersey. Humongous stretch. And the upper body You notice the shoulder, the front shoulder, and the hands move in sequence. Just let's rewind this and play it again. Just kind of focus on that, and we'll mostly focus on the upper body. But this is a key movement here. He's taking the slack out of that front arm. He's doing a micro move with the front shoulder. Really watch that front knee. It's the trigger of the swing. So from this position, if we start it again, so for focusing on the front knee, and again, it's the trigger of the swing. If he doesn't want to swing at this pitch, he's just going to let that left leg relax and just land. If he decides to swing, he's going to fire that front leg. If he needs to wait on an off-speed pitch, he's going to do that as well. He's just going to come in and let that knee flex. But this for fastball, he's just going to fire that front leg. So let's watch this. Watch how he gets that knee out of that circle quickly. And again, watch this. So let's watch that front foot and see how smooth he brings it in. Okay, lost my place, but I was saying how smooth he rotates into the front foot. He's not sitting up on that toe. He's not pausing. It's very smooth transition from toe touch to heel plant. Boom, 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 boom. And as you watch this, watch how the body is still moving into this heel plant, the hips. He's pushing himself forward, and that's good. You know, this is what we want to do, because when he's landing on this knee like this, the knee's bent, and a bent knee can give us power. If we're just sticking that foot out like we're on ice or something like that, it's just it's locked up and it has no potential for power. So again, this is a perfect position. He was perfect in the load position or the body weight gather position. He was perfect in toe touch, and he's perfect in heel strike. Almost like he's a good baseball player or something. So let's just watch it a few times to get a feel for this movement. Let's watch the right leg, right hip. Gain control of the body. Creases on the hip. Gain control of the body. Move out with the hips because that moves our body. Patience with the front side. Patience with the front side. Carry the front foot. Carry the front foot. Transition smoothly into heel plant. All the keys. Keys are put the body into the hip. Don't cross the line. Get the body into the hip. Sit into the rear hip. Some guys do it more than others. Every person does it. Every good hitter gains control of the body and the right leg and the right hip. Move our body forward. We're going to drive out through the hip. Through the hip. If we drive through the hip, it's going to connect to our spine and move our whole body. No tipping. Tipping is the cardinal sin in the move forward. Move forward with the hip. That moves our body. Boom. Don't wait up on that toe. Just transition. We need to wait for a pitch. Just land, flex the knee, and then rotate. The front side is the trigger for the swing. While we're doing that, we're being patient with our hands. We're being patient with the front side and being patient with our hands. Nothing, 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 nothing. Leave our hands there. And as we move out, we're drawing our hands back and getting that perfect forearm position right there. And that allows us to work that elbow under. It gives us the space to work that rear elbow under. So one more time while I shut up and let's appreciate it. Boom. Very fluid. It's 3 segments, but you're going to blend them all together. But we practice each segment separately, and we blend them all together. Make a nice fluid movement. So this is Jerry Brewer of East Bay Hitting Instruction. We looked at Buster Posey's stride. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions about his stride or anybody's stride, your stride, shoot me an email and we'll... That was my dog. Thanks.